Welcome to the Brainiate Show, where we talk about all things Salesforce, sharing the coolest features, solutions, and best practices to turn you into a Salesforce rock star. Here's your host, former attorney turned Salesforce consultant and trainer, David Giller.
Hello and welcome to all of you. I am super excited to see you again today, and I think we have a really cool agenda ready for you. But before I go further, let me introduce my guest co-host for today. Melissa, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Linenberger. I am a Salesforce admin, 8 years experience. I'm currently working with Build with Ferguson of Ferguson Enterprises. I've been with them since July. I also do some contract work with EOStar.
Awesome. So Melissa, you're going to take us through some career advice for Salesforce professionals. By the way, for anyone who has not attended one of these live events before, basically for the first segment, we're going to share some best practices, some tips, some advice. The second segment, we broke it up into 3 segments. The second segment, I should have a graphic, a visual to show this.
Yes,
Put it on my to-do list. So the first segment, we're going to be sharing more conceptual. It's a little bit more of a talking head, not so much of like looking at anything in Salesforce, sharing best practices, tips, and advice. Today, we're going to be focusing on, and Melissa will be primarily speaking about career advice for Salesforce professionals. The second segment is where we're actually showing something on the screen. So that's more along the lines of like how to do something in Salesforce or how to use certain features or best practices on, rolling up your sleeves and actually doing something in Salesforce. And the last segment is where we're going to address any Salesforce questions that you might have to the extent that we're capable of answering it. So by all means, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them into the comments. Just make sure to add a Q at the beginning so we know when we're looking at the comments, because sometimes it could be a little bit overwhelming when we're looking at all the comments coming in. We don't know if you're actually commenting on somebody else's comment or you're actually asking a question. So it will help us to identify your question by just putting a Q at the beginning of it before you put your question. But with that being said, Melissa, you ready to take it away on career advice?
I am.
And you want to share your screen, right?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Alrighty.
Okay, I'll share what I have here in just a moment.
Yeah.
So what I said I would talk about first is the Salesforce careers. As I said, I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for 8 years, and a little bit of background about myself. I worked for higher education for 11 years, and during the last 3 years of that, I went to a higher education nonprofit, and they were just implementing Salesforce and asked me to be the admin. That was part of why I was hired, and I didn't know anything about it, but I had a lot of database experience, and so I learned it. We had some bumpy roads the first few months because the consultants we were working with they had a lot of turnover, and so every time we would meet with them, they would start from scratch, and that was not working for me. And so I was self-taught. I learned it. We didn't even have Trailhead yet, or if we did, I didn't know about it. And so within a few months, we were up and going, and I was learning a lot. A few years later, after we had, I think, Enterprise Edition, and then later on, we added the Nonprofit Success Pack. And so then a few years later, my whole unit, I was the only Salesforce admin, but my whole unit was laid off because of budget cuts. And so I did some consulting work, worked for a few small consulting companies, and then eventually worked for Procter & Gamble through Tech Systems on contract. I was there for a couple years, and let me tell you how I got that position, because that, everyone knows Procter & Gamble. Everyone knows what that is, right? So big parent company for a lot of retail things that you buy. I won't go into the list, but you can look it up. I got that job because a friend had seen me at a conference. I had seen her at a few other conferences. She sent me a text, or actually a Twitter message, and said, "Hey, would you be interested? Are you still looking for a job?" And we set up a phone call. It was supposed to be 10 or 15 minutes, ended up being 45 minutes. And within a couple weeks, I was working with them. Great job, great experience. Unfortunately, they decided at Procter & Gamble, not my unit, but the whole company decided that they wanted to have all their Salesforce admins in person. Of course, this was before COVID. So everyone had to be there on the campus, and that's in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm in Kansas, so that was not going to work for me. So I ended up leaving after that contract, and a couple months later getting a job at a large financial company. And I implemented Salesforce for them. And so all the experience I had gotten was brought into my next position. And that was great because I knew enough to implement again and be at a very large company doing it. And so I helped them implement it. They use Salesforce in a totally different way, which kind of threw me off when it came to looking for a job again a couple years later because they sold to another company. And so I've kind of jumped around a little bit, but I've gotten some really good experience. And so I've got a lot to say about the careers aspect of it. First of all, if you're looking for a job, get certified if you can, get some kind of experience if you can, maybe as a junior admin. One thing that recently came to my attention, working with a lot of recruiters, which you can once you're in the ecosystem and have some experience, they will search you out. I've probably gotten 20 recruiters calling me over the past several months. It's crazy. They still call me, even though I've got another job.
And they're not all bad, by the way. A lot of
No.
recruiters get a bad rap. There are some bad apples out there. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that there aren't, but anyway.
There are, but they're very friendly. They want to make a commission. They want to get you in a job, but they also do have the ends to where all those jobs are and can get you in the door. And so I actually got 2 jobs back in June, started this job in July 1st, and then started my other one a little after that as a contractor, which I was not looking for 2 jobs. So that was great just to have the extra income. But one thing everyone, says, make sure your resume is specific to each job, which of course you're going to. But one thing that the recruiters liked was that I had this summary of qualifications. I put all of these qualifications at the top. It has my 3 certifications. It has some of my basic experience. And then of course, lower on, I put some more specific information. And this was actually just updated last week. So it's got a lot of information on here. But I just wanted to show you that because I think people don't show their resumes. And I think it's important to see what other people have out there. You can really find all kinds of information about Salesforce skills just by doing a quick Google search. My resume has been built over time, so it's obviously morphed as I go. And then depending on the company that I'm working with for recruiters, they might do some changes as well, or they might ask me some questions about what could I take on or take off of there, just depending on the position that I'm applying for. So recruiters are great if you're at the position where you can work with them. My first couple times looking for jobs, I didn't have a recruiter. This year, when I put myself out as available on LinkedIn, and that's another thing, keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. Keep it matching your resume because you don't know what's going to happen or when you're going to need it. And so it didn't take me much to update that and have it sent out. I think one day I went on there, spent maybe half an hour updating it, and put myself out there as being available. And within literally 2 minutes, I had 2 people contacting me. They weren't recruiters. One was someone I knew from high school, and another one was just someone random who had seen that I had put myself as available. So within 2 weeks, I was actively interviewing and had offers about a month later. So it happened really fast. Now, that's not going to happen for everyone. Obviously, you have to have the experience. You have to have everything set up and ready to go. But for me, it happened that way this time.
I'll just jump in real quick on LinkedIn because you happen to be talking about LinkedIn. So a lot of people mistakenly position in their head that like LinkedIn is just for when you're looking for a job. And if you're first going to LinkedIn to update your profile when you are in job hunting mode, it's a little bit too late. You might pick some stuff up and you might get lucky and it might work. But what you really should be doing is leveraging LinkedIn at every step along the way on a regular basis. Even when you're at a job and you're quite happy, LinkedIn is not just a resume database. I mean, that's probably how it started. But LinkedIn is a social media platform for business-related communications. So if you're working on something, I would encourage you to leverage, I'll back it up for a moment. Leverage LinkedIn as one of multiple channels to get out there your personal brand. So you need to be focusing on personal branding, letting people know the skills that you have, the interests that you have, the passions that you have, the things that you know how to do, the kinds of problems that you know how to solve, including even your personality. And LinkedIn is a fantastic way to do that, because if you're first learning about even a brand new feature, let's say you knew nothing about Quip or CPQ, and your boss asked you to go ahead and start learning it on the job, you can start sharing what your experience is like as a post. It doesn't have to be a long essay. It doesn't even have to be 3 paragraphs. It could be 2 sentences about how excited, how intimidated, the kinds of reason you are, how intimidating it might be for you. Now, you might be asking for additional resources that others have leveraged that really work. It's those small things that will help you to put yourself out there and let people see and know more about you without you having to have individual conversations with them. You're doing it at scale. So this way, when you're actually looking for a job, these people already have some familiarity with you. Anyway, Melissa, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's perfect. And one thing that made me think of is when you're going out there and updating your resume or LinkedIn based on your current job, look at your position description. Take the bullet points from your position description, copy those straight onto your resume or LinkedIn, and then go in and edit them so that they're more you. They're in your own words, your own bullet points. But use that because it's already there and it's already saying this is what you're doing. And so you're able to use that to your advantage. I actually just helped someone with a resume last week or the week before doing that. And that was very helpful for them. That was the main part I had about that. But so if you're new to the ecosystem, if you're new to Salesforce, definitely go out and start your training. Backing up a bit here. Like I said, Trailhead wasn't there when I started. It is wonderful. I'm now almost a 3-time ranger, I think. I've got a lot of badges out there. I'm constantly learning. Give yourself an hour a week to go out and learn if you're already in the ecosystem. There's always new content. Jen, who's on here, she's got, 2,000 badges now? There's a lot. I've got like a 10%. So I know that that's something I can continue doing. I can keep looking out there at what I need to learn. If you want to learn CPQ, that's something that's very highly sought out right now. It's not something I have, but it's something I'm asked about a lot. That might be where I want to put my time. There's always lots of stuff. There's specifically recently, the ones I've done have been the ones to update myself because of the new releases. I want to know what's coming out, what's changing, so that I know what I need to do with my own business, with the orgs that I work in. And so that stuff's there. Make use of it. It's all free. There's lots of good websites, lots of good blogs, everything that you can go out and you can constantly be learning, constantly be updating your skills. I keep saying that forever. I could talk 20 minutes just on that. Certifications. If you're new, definitely start with the Salesforce certified Salesforce administrator, if that's the route you want to go. If you're interested in developer, I think that's still a good one to get. But there is a more basic developer. I don't want to say basic. I feel like there's nothing basic about development because I'm not a developer at all. But then eventually I went and I got Sales Cloud Consultant and Advanced Administrator as well. Make sure those are listed on your resume. Don't just say you're certified because they don't know what that means. David, how many certifications do you have?
I actually only have 3 certifications, and honestly, that's to me that's a point. And by the way, I'm not knocking neither Jen nor anyone else who has a lot of certifications. There is nothing wrong with learning a ton and sitting for the certification exams and getting those certifications. However, I think of it as sort of like a college degree How many frickin' degrees do you need to have in order to be successful as a professional? So if you want to learn for the sake of learning, if you want to learn for the sake of formalizing the knowledge that you have so that you can put it on your resume, that's great. But after a certain point, nobody cares. Like, really, nobody cares. I mean, it all depends on what niche, what industry, what platform you are focusing on. But in the end, your ability to solve problems for organizations, your knowledge and expertise in the platform and how to leverage the features of the platform to solve those problems, that is way more important than having X number of certifications. Now, with that being said, if I am a hiring manager and I am looking to compare different candidates, I'm looking to choose of the pile of resumes that I have sitting in front of me, which ones I should put in this pile versus the other pile. Certifications are going to help, but at a certain point, I only really care about those certifications that are relevant for the job that I have open. And if someone has a ton of certifications with minimal work experience, or a ton of certifications on things that have nothing to do with anything that we're going to be working on in our business, in this role, I would feel horrible inviting that person for an interview, because they're going to be highly disappointed, bored to tears. At least that's my impression as a hiring manager. If all they're going to be working on is Sales Cloud, and they have certifications on Marketing Cloud and on Pardot and on CPQ and on Quip and on all kinds of other things, yeah, this probably is not the right job for you. So take it with a grain of salt. Melissa, you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, they might see all those certifications and think they can't afford you. So you have to be careful with that. You want to go for the basic ones that you know you're going to be working on, that you know you're going to be looking for a job in, and make yourself marketable. But yes, I have several friends that have a lot of, a dozen or more certifications. And that's wonderful, especially if you want to work for Salesforce. But I think a regular basic admin, and again, I shouldn't say basic, we only need a couple. You only really need that first one to get in the door and get a job. So don't put a lot of pressure onto yourself to get those certifications. They're hard. And you will spend a lot of time. And sometimes people spend a lot of money. I didn't, but some people do, to get those certifications. And you don't have to. So take the pressure off of yourself, get the first certification, and go from there. Decide what you're going to specialize in, what your brand is going to be.
So Melissa, that's fantastic advice for folks who are basically new to the workforce. So typically like people who are like straight out of college. So go to Trailhead, figure out which career path. Go to Trailhead for free materials to learn whatever it is that you want to learn in Salesforce. Pick the career path that is of most interest to you. And if you haven't started anywhere, then to Melissa's point, start with the admin certification, what's often known as the admin 201 type certification. Go ahead and add on whatever other certifications are relevant based on what it is that you need or what your passion or interest is in. But again, don't bank on, there is not a direct correlation between number of certifications you have and the amount of income you're going to generate or the amount of job offers that will come your way. And get the hands-on work experience that you need. And to the point that we made before when talking about LinkedIn, make sure to get noticed by sharing the knowledge, the wisdom that you have. And guess what? Sharing the advice, the tips that you have for your peers or for the folks that you're working with, and sharing that internally within your organization, sharing it on social media, sharing it at Salesforce user group meetups, that is far more valuable than collecting certifications, because that will have a much more impactful what's the word I'm looking for? Reputation that you're going to create for yourselves with your target audience. Let's shift gears real quick. Oh, sorry, you're going to say something, Melissa?
Nope, go ahead.
Let's shift gears real quick and focus on those so that's for folks who are basically new to the workforce. Folks who are mid-career, but new to Salesforce. In other words, folks who they've been in the workforce for some time. They've been a project manager or an IT leader or a database manager, or maybe did not have anything IT related in their job history. They were in financial services or healthcare, but they were pretty advanced in their career, and now they're exploring Salesforce as a career path. What advice do you have for those folks, Melissa?
Oh boy. Again, look at certifications, follow the path that you want to. I know we've got a lot of questions coming in, and someone mentioned business analysts. That's a big up and coming thing in Salesforce right now. There's a group that is focusing solely on business analysts with Salesforce and really trying to teach people that, because it is something that is a career path that is newer. And I've actually looked into it some myself just because I think it's very interesting, and I see that we use it every day as an admin. And so I think that's a great career path to look at. Definitely just take yourself to the next level, whether it's another certification and getting your foot in a little bit further as a developer, maybe getting some projects that are a little bit bigger, or things that you're going to stretch your knowledge and stretch your abilities so that you can keep growing. You definitely don't want to be stagnant, and you don't have to be in the Salesforce ecosystem. You can constantly grow. You can constantly find more work, find more, like if you want to add a contract, if you have 20 extra hours a week, or maybe even 10 hours a week, if you just want to grab a contract and work on something else, work on another org for a little while, you've got the ability to do that once you've got a little experience under your belt. So definitely take advantage of those things that are out there, because this ecosystem, this career paths, all the paths that we have are just amazing. And, 20 years ago, this didn't exist. So it's pretty young still, and there's so much opportunity. Like we've said many times, Salesforce training, all kinds of training. Someone mentioned the help pages. Those are huge. I'm on those every day, probably. Trailhead, I'm on at least once a week. Other technology. I recently was certified in Safe Agile, and a friend in the ecosystem, a good friend of mine, reached out to me last week and just said, how did you do this? Where did you find this information? How did you get the training? That's all good to have, because we are often working in those agile environments with the developers and with our teams. And so that's all good stuff to have and to be able to add to your resume. So just continue to learn, continue to grow, and continue to add those things to your portfolio.
Absolutely. So for folks who are new to Salesforce, I just want to focus in on one other thing before we switch over to folks who are mid-career with Salesforce experience. If you're new to Salesforce and you did not have any technology or any Salesforce experience before, but you do have some niche industry expertise, that niche industry expertise is going to take you very, very far. That is just as valuable. If you add on to that, think of it as like layers. And if you have your foundation is not Salesforce, but it is niche industry expertise. Again, I'll just use examples of, let's say, education or nonprofits or healthcare or financial services. I can keep going on and on. But you add on top of that through Trailhead, through YouTube, through courses like my course, you start learning Salesforce to become an admin. You take an advanced admin course, you become a developer, whatever it is, you add that on top of the niche industry expertise that you have. You are far more valuable than, in my mind, than someone who is brand new to the workforce and has 15 certifications, but has never logged into a Salesforce org before and knows nothing about financial services or healthcare or education or nonprofit and knows nothing about any of those things. You are far more valuable than those people. So is it too late if you're mid-career and you're new to Salesforce? Is it too late to start a pivot over to Salesforce? Absolutely not. There are going to be lots of companies who are eager to leverage your knowledge and expertise on the Salesforce platform. And it's okay that you're first learning Salesforce now. None of us were born knowing Salesforce. It's fine. You will do fine. Just be transparent about what you know and what you don't know. It's totally cool.
I recently read that everyone's a beginner at what they end up doing. Everyone's a beginner at some point. You have to start somewhere. I'm 44. I started this 8 years ago, and I love it. And it's given me a whole new career path. Definitely a great career path. There was something else I was saying, but I already forgot it. So I'll come back to it.
All right, so let's focus on mid-career, those who have extensive Salesforce experience. So to Melissa's point, she showed before like her resume and highlighting the summary, the highlights of what Melissa had, the type of experiences that she's had, because guess what? Any recruiter, any hiring manager, they're skimming just like we are. Our brains have been Twitterized. So sum it up to the best of your ability. Put in those keywords for what it is that you want to be known for what it is that is most fitting for the type of role that you're looking to get. And if you need to grow, then let's say, for example, you're at a company and they're using Salesforce for some time, but nothing is changing. They're not buying any other products. They are not interested in using any other features. What I'll tell you is this. Go ahead and learn those, let's say even with new Salesforce releases, go ahead and learn the new features that are being made available. Even if within your company nobody's interested in using it, go ahead and create a quick YouTube video about it, write a blog article about it, post something about it on LinkedIn, and all you're linking to is content created by Salesforce. But what you're sharing is the knowledge that you have that this exists. Even though you didn't create it, you didn't create the video, you didn't create the feature. So you are, by doing that, you are A, keeping yourself up to date with the skill set that you need, knowing that these features exist, even though at work your hands are tied and you're not able to do anything about it. You're also putting it out there to the world that you are on top of all of these new features that are coming out, let alone, let's use the examples I gave before, CPQ and Quit. And let's say that you are super interested, for whatever reason, you're just super interested in learning these new features, learning these new platforms that are available. You can go ahead on Trailhead and you start learning. And as you're learning it, again, when you have those light bulb moments of things that are exciting you, go ahead and start sharing it. Share it with people at work, share it with your manager, share it with your colleagues, share it at a local user group meetup. Go ahead and share it on social media. All of those things will help you feel more alive. That will also naturally start to gravitate yourself to those new job openings as they become available. And things will start to happen very naturally, even though you did not yet have the hands-on experience to actually start using these tools or these features. Anyway, Jen, I'm sorry, Melissa, I saw Jen's comment over here. Melissa, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's good. We could go on forever on careers. I think there's, like I said, there's so much going on there. And that's another thing too. When I was looking for a job, I had so many offers for interviews just because there are not enough of us out there. And I can't say that strongly enough. There are so many careers, so many job openings, I should say, looking for the skills that we have. And there are not enough certified admins out there. There are not enough people doing this work to fill those positions. So anything you can do to create that brand for yourself and to work on yourself and get to where you need to for the jobs that are out there is great. You will have opportunities you never dreamed of.
Awesome. With that, we're ready to move on to the next segment, the how-to. All right.
I'll let you do that.
Thank you. Alrighty, so here we are in my developer Salesforce org. And the first thing that I'm going to show you is how to embed training content on your page layouts. So let's make believe for a minute that we introduce something new somewhere in Salesforce. And honestly, it does not necessarily matter if it's on the home page or on a record page. Let's make believe, let's go in over here and let's just pick anything as an example. I'm going to randomly click on opportunities and I'll randomly just go into an opportunity record. And let's make believe that over here on the right hand side that I changed something in this component over here, where maybe before the chatter tab was not visible and now I made it visible. And I want to highlight this to users when they are on the opportunity screen, when they're on an opportunity record. I want to highlight to them that this is now available. So what is it that I'm going to do? Well, day-to-day job of day-to-day job of an admin, what I'll typically do is I'll probably write something up that I can share with my colleagues. Maybe I'll post it in Chatter. Maybe I'll share it in Slack. Maybe I'll create an email and start sending it out to all of my internal Salesforce users. Maybe I'll put it as a Microsoft Word document and send it as an attachment, or maybe as a Google Doc. But either way, I'm capturing either in document form, or some people love video. And by the way, it's getting like easier and easier. So long as you have the confidence to be on screen, it's so easy to leverage video. You can use things like Loom. I personally use a tool called, hang on, I forgot the name of it. It's right over here. Oh, great. And now it's not showing. Berrycast. You can, like, there are many different tools that make it like super easy to just start recording with your screen. By the way, you could even just use Zoom. Start a Zoom meeting with no other attendees, share your screen, your floating head is right on there, and you can start recording and showing what's going on. So let's make believe for a minute that I have that recording, or I have that document of some kind. Let's again make believe it's a Google Doc that we have with the information that I want to highlight to these users. And I want to put it on this screen. I'm going to show you how we can embed that information on the screen over here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into setup. And then once I'm in setup,
about this. I haven't actually seen this used yet. So.
I love this feature, especially because I'm so gung-ho on all things training. Anyway, what we're going to look for is in-app guidance. So you could type in any of those words or any of those letters, and you're going to, and I'm typing in, where is it show? How come it's not showing up? Here we go. In-app guidance. So once you click on in-app guidance, you're then going to see a screen that looks like this one. And if it's the first time you're looking at it, you're not going to see any of these rows listed over here. So you can ignore that. Don't worry about that. Let's go here and I'm going to click add. So let's make believe I want to create my first in-app guidance content to share with my users. And when I do that, the screen is going to refresh. And if I've never done this before, I'm going to be like, what the heck's going on? I don't get it. It just refreshed, and now I'm on the home page in another tab. Like, what the heck? Well, guess what? We have this bar going over here on the top, and it's basically telling us navigate to whatever page you want this new in-app guidance to appear on. So let's go here. Since I have a list view over here of my open opportunities, let's go and just navigate into any opportunity record. Come on. And now what I'm going to do is, now that it's on this screen, doesn't matter which record, now that I'm on this screen, I'm on the opportunity record screen. So now I'm going to click add. So when I click on add, I'm going to see these options here. So what I'm going to tell you is, my recommendation is, what I'm going to teach you now is how to use the single prompt. The walkthrough option, what you see over here, this is basically freemium that Salesforce is giving you. And essentially, they want you to use they're only giving you 3 active walkthroughs that you can create. Beyond that, you have to actually pay for an upgraded license to unlock more of these features. So for now, we'll just stay away from there. You can feel free to play around with it. But for now, we're just going to stay away from there. We're going to go to single prompt. And now I'm just going to go here and I'm going to hit next. So when I hit next, you can see here that I have a couple of options. Should it be a floating prompt? Should it be a docked prompt? Or should it be a targeted prompt? Now, by the way, you can see over here, there's a little hover icon where it will show you some more information. Let's say in this instance, I want it to be a targeted prompt. I want it to sort of point at the area where I want to draw attention to. So I'm going to choose this one. And now we can see over here, it's showing prompt position. So Salesforce is basically asking me to click on this button and then to choose where should this be pointing to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And now you can see when I hover, we have this little shadow color thing happening. So I'm going to hover on this lightning component because I'm simulating that I want to call out that now the chatter tab is over here. So I'm just going to select this. And okay, now I'm good. And we can see here, this is like a sample of what it's going to look like. When I scroll down a little bit, you can see I have some other options regarding the custom theme color, because I have a custom color going on over here if you didn't notice. If I want to customize it based on record types, so it should only appear for certain record types, because you can see over here in this instance of Salesforce on the opportunity, I have a record type of personal injury and malpractice, because that happens to be the record that I'm on is of that type. I'm not going to bother with that for now. Let's make believe it's for all record types. I'm just going to hit next. So now it's asking me go ahead and insert whatever it is that you want to insert. So I'm going to do something like, have you noticed the new, or let's do chatter now available. And by the way, you can always feel free to dress it up with emojis. And what I mean by that is, because you might be thinking emojis, I'm not on my mobile device. How do I do emojis? You can go, I save it as a favorite. You can find there's a gazillion emoji virtual keyboards out there. So if let's say I go to one of these and I want this emoji to just dress it up a little bit, I can go here and I can insert the emoji and put in a little bit of personality into this. Now, what I could do over here is I could simply cut and paste a summary. Now, see over here, it's only giving me 240 characters. A summary of whatever it is that I have in that Google Doc, I can go ahead and put here. Or if I actually have, if I have a video, hang on one second. This is showing me image. Where the heck am I? Oh, for a targeted prompt, you can't have a video. For a doc prompt, you can have video. That's what it is. So if I had chosen doc prompt, watch, let's go back over here. If I had chosen doc prompt, then I hit next. This is where I can insert like hyperlinks. You can see I could put text over here. So have you read this article, this how-to document, I'll say how-to document showing how to use this feature. And I could make this a hyperlink using this feature. Or if I had a video, you could see over here, I could put the video embed URL right over here on the bottom, and a video will appear here. But for now, let's go back over here before I was doing a targeted prompt. And let's go back to this one. And you know what? The same text came along. That's fine. Not a big deal. We'll use that as an example. For image, I can go here and I can upload an image. And if you hover over it, you will see the dimensions should be 324 by 132. And by the way, if you're thinking, I don't know, how the hell am I going to put together an image? Use a tool like Canva. I am a huge fan of Canva. It makes it so easy to create images of a consistent look and feel, whatever dimensions you need. So you can embed your image right over here. For now, I'm just going to skip over that. And let's go here, dismiss button label. I'll just type in the word dismiss. In other words, we need a button over here to let people like go away from that thing. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Oh, I'm sorry. I said the word save and I hit done. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now what am I calling it? So I'm calling it check out the chatter tab. Or no, I'll call it chatter on opportunities. I need to abbreviate a little bit. Action button URL. Hang on. What the heck am I doing over here? No, I don't want to have an action button. I'm sorry. I thought I was naming it. Sorry. My brain is all over. This is
real life. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. So schedule. You can schedule if this feature is not going to go live until next week. You can go ahead and schedule it that it should not start until next week, or if it's live today, schedule it from today. And we want to stop hounding people about this by, let's say, the 24th of the month. So we can go ahead and do that. We can choose over here the frequency. How often should it show up for people? So maybe I want to keep bombarding them. I'm going to do it up to 30 times. And how many days in between? Every darn day. So let's hit next over here. And now we can choose for users of which profile should this be displayed. So over here, I can go ahead and I can choose of the profiles that I have in this org. I can go ahead and choose those. I can move them over here. So it'll only be for those profiles, or alternatively, if I want to do it for permission sets. So if you have a specific group of users, there's a new feature that's only available for users who are using, let's say, DocuSign or whatever it might be. You can go ahead and target exactly those people, either based on their profile or their permission set. We're not at the user level, but you can get pretty granular right here just with these options. And this is where I'm going to give it a name, and I'll call this chatter on opportunities. And this is where I don't want to skip over this because you should always put it in the description so you remember 2 weeks later, what the hell was this for? So, you don't want to shortchange your future self. So now I went ahead and I hit save, and now we can see, come on, now I can see done. And now let's go back over here as a regular end user, and let's refresh the browser, and we're going to see that the hover is going to come up on the activities and on this panel right over here, if my browser will cooperate with me. And of course it's not. Why is it not
I really
coming
like
up?
that you can put videos in, because not everyone learns just by reading. I'm a hands-on video person. I have to have one or the other or both. And that really helps a lot. I like that it's not just something you're expecting people to read and they're just going to skim over it and not even look at it. And I've used an
Absolutely.
app to do this before, but I've never done it in the system. So it's great to actually see it's very similar to what I've done previously. But yeah, this is great.
So this is, because you talked about the video, please let this be the one where I set up a video. Yes. So I set up a video embedded in here. This is just playing around, me being a little bit goofy, where I went ahead and I just tested whether or not, how it's going to work and how it's going to look. And this is pretty darn cool. So if you have that training video that you created, good thing I didn't do anything obnoxious in this video. And oh, you can even see that with this one, I created it in Zoom. So let me rewind over here and I'm going to hit play. Come on. And you could see, geez Louise, you can see that, oh great, our heads are blocking it. The typical, in Zoom when you have a presenter and that presenter's name is appearing in the lower right hand side. So you can create the video in Zoom. You don't need anything special to do that. Anyway, so that was the first thing that I want to show you. The next thing that I want to show you, I'm going to be really quick about it because I want to address your questions. I hear the dinging that's going on for the comments and like, oh my God, I'm missing out on all of the questions. I want to leave time for the questions. So the next thing that I really want to show you is how to put an end to custom pages. When custom page layouts, we've all been there as a system admin, and you have either an individual user or a group of users, like the head of East Coast Sales, who says, listen, for my team, they need special pages on the account layout or on the home page. Can you create a custom page for them? Well, if the question starts off with, and it always starts off with, can you? The answer is almost always going to be yes. If you're truthful about it, the answer is going to be yes. So the question is, does it make sense to create a custom page layout? And with Lightning, the answer is rarely. It rarely makes sense to create a custom page layout. Now, by the way, what I'm talking about is not what I call classic page layouts for an individual record. I'm talking about the Lightning page layouts. So let's say, for example, that we have a very specific use case where here we are on the home page, and let's make believe it's the CEO who says, I am the only one who should ever see this, but I want on my homepage, I should have this component over here that shows this chart of my leads by stage. Nobody else ever needs to see it. Only I need to see it. Well, instead of creating a custom page layout and giving it the name of, Joe Schmo, the name of the CEO, his homepage, we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go in here to edit the page. And by the way, what I'm about to show you also holds true for any record page. You go into the page layout. And again, we're on the home page now. So you go ahead and you throw onto the home page whatever it is that person wants to see. So in this example, it's this particular component, which is a report chart. So I just drag over the report chart. I chose exactly which report should be displayed here. And then over here on the bottom, let me remove this. I had it here before. We see, and you will have this on almost every Lightning component, whether it's a custom component or a standard component. You will see here that there's an option that says set component visibility. And when you choose this, you will see that you have some options here. So over here it says field, and I can select. When I hit select, it's now showing me that I can choose attributes of either the user or a permission that they have. Let's go ahead to the user. And under the user, I can see that almost every attribute on the user object is available to me. So I can choose over here, for example, I can choose based on their profile. I can choose based on their phone number, based on their mobile number, based on their email address, based on their department. So if it's, let's say, only the CEO who wants this, I can go here and I can choose, let's say, email address, or I can choose, let's do email address. So I'm going to go here and say it again, Melissa.
You could probably use role as well.
Oh, you could totally use role, yes. So I could choose email equals, and I can put in, Fred@acme.com. That's his email address. Nobody else is going to have that email address. And if I go here and I hit done, it's only going to, so watch here, I'm going to hit done. And now we're going to see, we have this little orange icon that indicates that there is some visibility component, something that's controlling whether or not this is visible. And I can see what it is right over here. And by the way, if I scroll down a little bit, you see I have another one right here. I use this example a lot. So if I click on that component, I can see that what options we have set for this particular component. So you can continue to do this, and then when the user is logged in, only if these criteria are met for that user will this component appear. Now, if we do this at the record level, let's go here and leave. I don't need to save what I just changed. So now let's go ahead to any record. Let's actually, I have this on the contacts. So let's go into any contact. Let's go to Franklin Sinatra. Okay. So only if my browser would keep up with me. And what we're going to do now is we're going to see over here. Don't mind the fact that there's a duplicate. I was actually giving a demo for someone on how duplicates work in Salesforce. That's why I have a duplicate of that contact. So if I go over here, I'm going to see that on the right-hand side, I have a component. I have actually two components where, go away recommendations. I appreciate your help, but not now. So we can see over here, for example, I have resources relevant to customers who love chocolate. This is a rich text component. And we can see that the criteria over here is the record, on the record, the field for favorite flavor of ice cream, which by the way is over here on the screen, favorite flavor of ice cream equals chocolate. So if it equals chocolate, go ahead and display this rich text component. So let's go back, and we have this one as well, where this one is based on the record status equals new prospect. Yes, I have a status on the contact in this org. Don't worry about that. So now I'm going to show you in action how this works. And you could use this in so many different ways. You can use this based on, let's say, the opportunity. If the opportunity is from an account of a specific industry, if the opportunity is in a certain stage and over a certain dollar amount. So you can go on and on with all kinds of different criteria. So over here, we can see that it's actually displayed. Why is it displayed? Because we can see over here, favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate. If I change this to anything other than chocolate, cherry, for example, I'm going to hit save. And as soon as the page refreshes, that component disappeared. It's no longer relevant. It's not visible. So you can
What I
use
really like about this is how versatile it is, because you can have, I can put 5 different charts out there and have them based on the manager or where they are in the role hierarchy or that type of thing. You can have this built out with, I don't know how many components you can have, 20 different components, and have only 5 of them seen by each group or whatever you might want. Exactly. So it's very easy to change this and make it work for your 10 different page layouts that are requested.
And by the way, which if you can kick this up a notch even further, so like this component that we have over here on the left-hand side, maybe you have certain users or groups of users who they need to see some additional tabs over here. You simply replicate this entire component. So when you're in edit mode, it appears beneath it or above it. And for that entire component with the extra tabs, that only appears for certain users. So you could really have a lot of fun and get creative and really be very helpful for your users without having to maintain so many page layouts. Anyway, with that being said, we're going to switch over into QA mode. Sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say that just makes me want to go and take all those page layouts that are out there and rebuild them.
Absolutely.
But since I have like 3,000 users, I won't be doing that anytime. But that is definitely on my list to do now. Thank you for showing us that.
My pleasure. I freaking love that
Tim?
feature. Tim, I'm totally with you. Every time I show it to people, they're like, oh my God, that was so cool. All right, let me go back over here and see what I missed. I did flag a couple of questions as, oh yeah, we need to follow up on those. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and a couple of things. So Tim asked, do you add just professional work on LinkedIn, or can you add outside personal items? So that is a really good question. I would say you can totally add personal things. sometimes I put pictures of myself with my granddaughter on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm not treating it like Facebook. I'm not treating it like Twitter, but the more you present yourself as a human without going overboard, so there's a fine line there. I'm not sure I know where that line is exactly, but so long as, you know, you are not being too much, it is not only completely cool. Personally, I think it is incredibly worthwhile to put personal things, not only in terms of hobbies, volunteer work that you're doing, anything about your personal life. So within reason, I would totally go ahead and do that. But just sort of try to rein it in for yourself so you don't get carried away. That's all.
Absolutely. A picture with your granddaughter is totally different than you out partying at a bar.
Yes, for sure.
I've seen some crazy things out there. But yes, make yourself human. There's nothing wrong with that. People are going to hire you because they like you, not just your resume.
Exactly. So we've got this question from Dharmesh. How do we respond to a recruiter if they're looking for 5+ years experience and they can see that I don't have it on LinkedIn? Well, guess what? People's brains have been Twitterized. They're summarizing, they're scanning, they're carpet bombing. Just like many job applicants are sending in resumes and submitting for applications for jobs where it's not a fit. There's nothing about that job description that is a fit for that person, but they're submitting it anyway in the hopes that somehow they slip through the cracks. So what I would say is, don't even waste your time following up with that recruiter. Just ignore it. End of story. If you want to take it so far to flag them as spam, that's up to you. But I would not even bother responding. That is clearly someone who is not paying attention to detail. I get those all the time.
I do too.
Yeah,
I get emails all the time asking me to apply for positions that have nothing to do with what I do.
Yeah.
They might just have the word Salesforce in the description.
Not even SAP. Like, oh my God, just stop.
Yeah.
Just nothing
Just
against
ignore them.
SAP. It's just I don't know experience of that. Like, why are you talking to me?
Yep. Take yourself off their list if you can. Just do whatever you can.
Guillermo, you have an excellent question over here. So, do you think that the modules of CPQ in Trailhead is enough to understand everything on Salesforce CPQ? And
Yes.
I'm going to broaden this question. What you were going to say something, Melissa? Go ahead.
I just said yes and no. Go
Okay.
ahead and broaden it.
So,
I'll see if there's
yeah,
something I need to add.
Trailhead is amazing for having a fundamental understanding of lots of different Salesforce products and features, but not necessarily to the point where you can really get behind the car and start driving. You definitely have the guardrails in place. You have the training wheels that are there, but that's pretty much it. So I have no hesitation. If, let's say, I am working with a client and the client is basically telling me, hey, we'd like you to, we need your help with X, Y, and Z. And I turn to them and say, I've never worked with any of that, but either I have gone through the content on Trailhead for it, or I have not yet gone through the content, but I can go ahead and learn it on Trailhead. And with that, so long as you are comfortable with my helping you at that level of familiarity, we're totally cool. We're on the same page, but I'm not going to claim to be an expert on it if my only exposure is Trailhead, because there are going to be, you can pretty much be guaranteed that there are going to be many surprises of things that are not mentioned on Trailhead that you will experience in the real world.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say too, is Trailhead's great for teaching you the basics, but you really need to get in there and hands-on and learn how to do it. Jen, you'll like this. On my contract position, I had to make 2 new flows, and they have a very basic org. There's not much out there at all yet. I need to do some very basic flows because I'm trying not to use workflows and process builder anymore. I don't want to put something that's going to be gone in 2 years. And so I went out there, I found some stuff on YouTube and just taught myself how to do something very simple. And all the resources are out there. You just have to figure out how to use them and what works for you. So yes, getting that experience is definitely key. But if you don't have the experience, you can usually find something somewhere too. But I wouldn't say that you can do something without the experience.
Absolutely. All right. Last question, then we're going to have to wrap it up because we're near the top of the hour. So Hamza has a question, and I did notice there were a lot of comments along this line also regarding going back to LinkedIn. articles documenting one's progress on LinkedIn versus articles teaching Salesforce functionality skills. What's better? So I'm going to sort of expand on this a little bit more, where some people also asked, is it better to post something on LinkedIn and have it as a featured piece of content, a featured post versus an article versus sharing a link? So let's take apart that piece before going into this. And what I'll say is, personally, what I have found from my own experience, you would think that actually creating the article on LinkedIn, you would have more traction. I personally have found that when I have in the past created articles on LinkedIn where the full content of everything was exclusively on LinkedIn, it was like I was talking to a doorknob. The views were like almost non-existent. I'm like, what the heck? Did I do something wrong? Did I not hit publish? Is it still in draft mode? Like, I don't understand what's going on. So that's my personal experience. Posting something outside of LinkedIn and simply putting the link to it on LinkedIn, I get way more traction. I don't know why. But going back to your specific question, which is articles documenting one's progress on LinkedIn. Well, from a personal branding perspective, my recommendation is, do people really care about what you're learning? No. What they really care about, they might be curious, but they don't really care. What they really care about is if you have information to help them solve a problem. So as you are going through the content and you are connecting the dots in your brain for people who are consuming that content or people who are in the business world and they happen to have a problem, and how this feature or this product or this use case solves a common problem, that's what you should be posting about. And it's totally cool to post about it. Like, for example, like even this video, this live show that you guys attended, seeing, let's say, the in-app guidance or the Lightning component visibility. And even though it's brand new to you, you did not know it prior to joining today, you can feel free to share the fact that you learned it and give some insight on how that piece of information can help other people. So give some of the use case of, hey, I just realized today that that you can instead of making custom page layouts for everyone, you can just use dynamic visibility of Lightning components in order to have everything on one page in Salesforce. And I just learned it today. I had no idea that it existed. So with that type of mindset, you're really sharing the piece of information of, here's some information that I think you could benefit from. It's with that mindset that you're approaching all of it. Not about me and look at what I learned. Look at what I did today. Look at all these badges that I finished today. Nobody cares. Anyway, yeah. Melissa, any other comments or thoughts?
On LinkedIn, and I love seeing those because there's always something that I can relate to or I've had experience with or whatever it might be. I am always learning from you, and I think that's always helpful. It's been great to have Jen on here because she's been answering some of those questions and adding a lot of good information.
Thank you, Jen.
So many good questions, so much good conversation happening in the comments.
Jen, I need to get you as a co-host also on here.
Yeah.
I'll follow up with you on that. All right. Melissa, thank you for joining me. All of you, thank you for joining as participants. If you have any ideas, suggestions on topics to cover in a future episode, go ahead and hit me up. You know where to find me. Thanks all and have a great day.